Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the Infinity Futures Daily Trading video. My name is Raleigh White, and I'm here to talk to you about the trades we took in our live trading room on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014. Well, looking at today's economic calendar, you can see there were a number of key events on tap that we needed to be aware of. At 7:15, we had the release of the ADP non-farm employment change data, which came in lower than expected, with 208,000 private sector jobs being created versus an estimated 223,000 new jobs. Then at 7:30, we had the revised non-farm productivity come out, which was in line with expectations at a positive 2.3%. Then at 8:45, we had the final services PMI data being released, which came in a little bit lower than expected at 56.2 versus an estimate of 56.3. Then at 9 o'clock, ISM non-manufacturing PMI data came out, which was significantly higher than the estimates. It came in at 59.3 versus an estimate of 57.5. Then lastly at 9:30 we had crude oil inventory data release, which came in much lower than expected, with a drawdown of a negative 3.7 million barrels versus an anticipated increase of 1.1 million barrels. Now, as far as today's pre-market sentiment was concerned, things were fairly mixed coming into the open. Now, the Asian markets had closed higher after yesterday's Wall Street record finish. Sentiment had brightened in Asia after the Dow finished at record highs and after the robust U.S. automotive sales. We did see that the best performing markets were in China, where the Shanghai market closed up 0.7 of a point at new three-year highs as the People's Bank of China stimulus plans continues to drive gains in the banking sector. We also saw that the Japanese Nikkei closed up 0.3 of a point as the weaker yen was hitting 7-year lows against the US dollar, and the Australian market closed up 0.8 of a point as the mining sector starts to recover after a recent beatdown that it's received. As far as the European markets are concerned, they were open, but they were trading mixed ahead of tomorrow's European Central Bank meeting results. Now, investors are cautious ahead of tomorrow's ECB press conference and the possibility of some new stimulus news. Sentiment was also souring after the November Eurozone business activity fell to 16-month lows, and there's also fresh concerns being surfaced as a report of a nuclear power plant incident was reported in southeast Ukraine. As far as the United States is concerned, Wall Street figured to also open up mixed after the release of economic reports. Now, the futures were flat coming into the open after the lower than expected ADP jobs report and ahead of the service PMI data due out at 9 o'clock. Sentiment was further being weighed by the continued lackluster business activity in the Eurozone, which is dragging down global growth for the foreseeable future. Focus for many U.S. investors would be on the ISM manufacturing PMI data coming out at 9, crude oil inventories at 9:30, and we have FOMC activity from a couple of Fed members and the publication of the Beige Book later on in the afternoon. As far as our trading activity was concerned, we attempted 3 entries in the market, but were filled in none of those in any of our markets, but I do want to share with you the setups that I did see. But before I do that, I need to remind everyone of this following important disclaimer, and that is that trading futures involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your circumstances, knowledge, and financial resources, as you may lose all or more of your initial investment. And always remember that past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Well, turning to the charts, let's begin here with the 30-year bond market. And we can see here right after the open of the U.S. trading session, we had 2 bars moving lower, followed by 1 bar retracing and a second bar retracing, and I was hoping the second bar was going to retrace way up here and give me a short entry at 141.3, but unfortunately the market didn't do that and I had to take that trade out. Now, staying with the bond market, you can see we had 2 bars closing higher, followed by 1 bar retracing and a second bar retracing, and I had a long entry all set to go here at 140.29. You see the market came right down to my entry point, but unfortunately I was not filled, and when the market moved through what would have been my profit target, I had to take this trade out. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't get the fill, even though my entry was tagged a couple of times. now need to turn my attention to the E-mini S&P market. And looking at this market, we can see that towards the end of the trading session, we had 2 bars moving higher, followed by 1 bar retracing. And I was hoping this second bar was going to retrace and give me a 2-bar pullback entry long, just above the previous day's high here at 2068.25. But the market never quite made it. It came within a tick of giving me my fill before moving away from me, so I had to take this trade out. So during the trading session, 3 attempts and no fills, and I promised to come back in the afternoon and take a look and see what opportunities might present themselves, primarily in the crude oil market. So turning to the point and figure chart for the crude oil market, you can see here in this area which is shaded, this represents the time period from 12:30 to 1:30 Central Time in the crude oil market. So as this we got through the lunch period, you can see that we had established here an area. Let me bring this over here. We had established here an area of minor support down here at 67.16. So as prices came down to this level, I had a long order in the market, risking 10 ticks to make 5 ticks. Well, I got my fill. The market moved about 5 ticks against me, and then moved in my favor about 3 ticks, and then turned sharply around, went 9 ticks against me. It almost knocked me out. Now, when I saw this happen, I took my profit target and I moved it to break even, and sort of felt that if I could get out, if I could recover from nearly being stopped out with a scratch trade, that would be a good way to close this trade. And you can see the market did come back and it knocked me out here for a scratch trade. It then went within a tick of knocking me out, moved higher, then ultimately would have knocked me out altogether. So I'm glad I got here out of this trade without any harm. So from that perspective, just 3 attempts in the market. We had this one fill was a scratch trade, and I look forward to seeing what kind of opportunities might present themselves tomorrow. Well, looking at tomorrow's economic calendar, you can see that there are several events that we need to be aware of. We begin at 7:30 with the European Central Bank press conference from Brussels, and Mario Draghi will be heading up this press conference. Then at 7:30 we have the weekly unemployment claims data coming out, and we have FOMC member Mester speaking. Then at 9:30 we have the release of natural gas storage, and at 11:30 we have FOMC member Brainerd speaking. So after the open of the U.S. trading session, a couple of key things to be aware of, nothing major, but hopefully we'll see some opportunities, will give us some entries in the markets tomorrow. So with that, thank you all for watching today's daily video. I wish you a pleasant evening. I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. Take care and good night.